The Valley of Lyra was a place woven from quiet wonders. Not silent, no, for silence was an absence, and Lyra was abundant with sound. But it was a quieted place, where every rustle of leaf, every ripple of stream, every murmur of wind carried a softness, a gentle resonance that settled deep in the bones. The air itself seemed to hum with unheard harmonies, a breath that had been held for centuries, now slowly exhaling. Elara knew the valley's breath better than anyone. She was a child of Lyra, born under its wide, star-dusted sky, with ears attuned to frequencies most adults had long forgotten. While others heard the busy chatter of the village, the clatter of the weaver's loom, or the distant lowing of cattle, Elara heard the delicate whisper of roots unfurling beneath the soil, the slow, rhythmic beat of a moth's wings against a moon petal, the sigh of ancient stone remembering a long-past rain. Her home was in Oak Haven, a village nestled in the deepest curve of the valley, built amongst trees so old, their limbs were like gnarled rivers, their leaves a perpetual shimmering green. The houses, crafted from Lyra's pale timber, and roofed with moss-covered slate, seemed to grow organically from the earth, as if the valley had simply exhaled them into being. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, carrying the scent of hearth fires and baking bread, mingling with the sweeter, wilder perfume of the surrounding forests. Elara was 12 summers old, with hair the color of twilight shadows and eyes the deep, clear green of the Lyra River. She was often found not in the bustling market square, nor by the communal well, but rather perched on a smooth river-worn stone by the water's edge, or tucked into the crook of an ancient oak, listening. Her mother, a practical woman whose hands were always busy with thread and needle, would sometimes chide her gently. "Elara, child, must you always be off dreaming? There are chores to be done, lessons to be learned." But her mother's voice held no real accusation, only a fond exasperation, for she knew Elara's quiet ways were as much a part of her as her bright, curious mind. One crisp autumn morning, as the sun painted the eastern peaks with streaks of rose and gold, Elara was gathering dew-kissed moon petals, their luminescence vital for the village's night lamps, from a glade just beyond the village's edge. The air was cool, smelling of damp earth and fading summer. A gentle breeze rustled through the canopy of leaves, creating a sound like 1,000 tiny bells. It was then, amidst the familiar symphony of morning, that she heard it. It wasn't a sound from the valley. It was, different. A faint, almost imperceptible murmur, like a breath caught in a sieve, or a single distant harp string plucked so lightly it barely vibrated. It was a whisper, yes, but not the whisper of wind or leaves. It felt personal, urgent, yet hesitant. Elara paused, her basket half full of glowing petals. She tilted her head, her green eyes wide and searching. "Hello," she murmured, her voice barely louder than the breeze. The glade was empty, save for the sleepy insects and the slowly waking flowers. The whisper seemed to fade, leaving only the usual quiet hum of Lyra. She dismissed it at first as a trick of the wind, or perhaps her imagination. She had always been one to hear things after all. But as the days turned into a week, the whispers returned. They came not always in the glade, but sometimes by the river, sometimes when she was helping her mother spin wool by the window, sometimes even in the deep quiet of her own bed, just before sleep claimed her. Each time, the whisper was fleeting, like a half-remembered dream. It had no discernible words, no clear meaning, only a sensation of presence, a yearning. It was like trying to catch mist in her hands, or hold on to the scent of rain after the sun had come out. "Nana, Elara?" asked one afternoon, as she helped her grandmother sort dried herbs in the warm, earthy-smelling kitchen. Her grandmother, Lyra, was a fount of old stories and forgotten wisdom, her face a roadmap of gentle wrinkles, her eyes like polished amber. "Do you ever hear sounds that aren't quite sounds?" Nana Lyra chuckled, her voice like dry leaves rustling. "Ah, child, what kind of sounds are these? The murmurs of the sleepy sprites, perhaps? Or the grumbling of the earthworms?" Elara shook her head, a small frown creasing her brow. "No, Nana. It's like a whisper, but not a voice. More like a feeling, but it makes a sound." She struggled to articulate the elusive sensation. Like someone is trying to remember something, but can't quite get the words out. Nana Lyra paused, her gnarled fingers still amidst a pile of crimson berries. Her amber eyes, usually twinkling with mischief, grew thoughtful, distant. The valley has many voices, Ilara, more than most know. The rocks whisper of ancient fires, the rivers sing of journeys taken, the trees dream of timeless skies. Perhaps you are simply hearing the valley's oldest songs, child. She offered a warm smile, but Ilara noticed a flicker of something else in her eyes. A curiosity, perhaps even a hint of concern, quickly veiled. Ilara didn't press it. Nana Lyra's words offered a comforting explanation, yet they didn't quite fit. Ah! The whispers she heard weren't the echoes of ancient fires or timeless skies. They were different. Newer, yet older. More urgent. One afternoon, a few weeks later, the whispers became undeniably clearer. Ilara was tracing the intricate patterns of moss on a stone wall, her fingers cool against the damp surface. The sun was dipping below the western peaks, casting long golden shadows across the valley floor. The air was still, expectant. Suddenly, the whisper intensified. It wasn't just a feeling now. It was a distinct, albeit faint, melody. A sequence of notes high and clear, like water dripping into a crystal bowl. It was beautiful, haunting, and deeply sad. And this time it seemed to come from a specific direction, deeper into the whispering woods, the ancient forest that bordered Oakhaven on its northern side. Ilara stood up, her heart giving a little thump against her ribs. The melody called to her, a delicate thread pulling at her curiosity. She knew she shouldn't venture too far into the woods alone, especially as dusk approached. Her mother's warnings about getting lost, about the shadows that lengthened and deepened, echoed in her mind. But the melody, it was irresistible. It felt like a part of her was being called home. She made a decision, a silent, quick one. Just a little way, she promised herself, just to see. The whispering woods lived up to its name. Even in daylight, the wind moved through its ancient boughs with a sound like hushed secrets. The trees here were grander, older, their roots like sleeping giants beneath the moss-covered earth. Twisted vines hung like ancient tapestries, and ferns grew in profusion, creating a lush, green understory. As Ilara stepped beneath the canopy, the light shifted, dappling the forest floor in emerald and gold. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of rich soil and decaying leaves. The melody, the whisper, grew stronger. It seemed to pulse in the very air around her, guiding her deeper. She walked carefully, her soft leather boots making little sound on the carpet of fallen leaves. She paid attention to the familiar landmarks, a particularly gnarled hawthorn tree, a stream that babbled over smooth stones, a cluster of glowing mushrooms. These were her anchors, her way back. The melody led her away from the main path, down a narrow, overgrown deer trail. Twigs snapped beneath her feet, and the forest sounds grew more muted, as if the woods themselves were holding their breath. The light grew dimmer, fading into a twilight glow beneath the thick canopy. Then, she saw it. Through a curtain of hanging moss and ivy, a clearing opened up. It wasn't large, perhaps only 20 paces across, but it was unlike anything she had ever seen in the whispering woods. In its center stood a single colossal tree, far grander than any in Oakhaven. Its bark was the color of moonlight, smooth and silvery, and its leaves were a vibrant, shimmering gold, even as autumn claimed the rest of the valley. It seemed to pulse with a soft inner light. But what truly captivated Ilara was the tree's heart. A cavernous hollow reaching up into its immense trunk seemed to be the source of the whispering melody. The notes, now clear and strong, flowed from within it, weaving a complex, sorrowful song that resonated not just in her ears, but deep in her chest. It was a song of longing, of remembrance, of something lost and deeply missed. As Ilara stepped into the clearing, the golden leaves of the tree stirred, not with wind, but as if in acknowledgement. A soft, warm breeze, carrying the scent of ancient forests and starlight, swirled around her. The melody embraced her, drawing her closer. She approached the silvery tree cautiously, her hand reaching out almost unconsciously to touch its luminous bark. It felt cool, smooth, and vibrant with life. As her fingers made contact, a wave of sensation washed over her. Not just sound, but images, feelings, memories that weren't her own. She saw flashes, a valley bathed in brilliant, vibrant light, figures moving gracefully, their forms shimmering with a gentle radiance, music, not just heard, but felt, woven into the very fabric of the air, Laughter, clear and joyful, hands tending to fields of glowing flora, voices speaking in a tongue she didn't know, yet understood with her heart. It was a vision of Lyra, but a Lyra she had never known, one overflowing with a bright, vital magic. Then, the images shifted. Shadows began to creep into the vision. The brilliant light dimmed, dulled by a gray, creeping mist. The laughter faded, replaced by whispers of confusion, then sorrow, then fear. The shimmering figures grew transparent, their forms wavering. The vibrant magic seemed to drain away, like color from a fading tapestry. The valley, once so luminous, grew quiet, its vibrant song muted, leaving only the gentle hum she knew. And through it all, the melody from the tree intensified, becoming a mournful cry, a lament for what was lost. Elara gasped, pulling her hand away from the tree. The visions vanished, leaving her breathless, her heart pounding. The clearing was still, except for the golden leaves shimmering and the unwavering, sorrowful song from the tree's hollow. She stumbled back a step, overwhelmed. What had she seen? What was this tree? And what was this, whispering? As she stood there, trembling, a new element entered the melody. A single clear voice, as pure as a mountain spring, seemed to separate itself from the interwoven notes. It was gentle, yet firm, and though it spoke no words in a language she knew, its meaning was unmistakable. Help us. The plea resonated deep within Elara, a cold shiver running down her spine, followed by a surge of fierce determination. This wasn't just a fascinating mystery, it was a desperate call. The beautiful ancient Lyra she had glimpsed in the vision, the one overflowing with light and music, was gone. And something, or someone, was asking her to bring it back. The sun had fully set now, and the clearing was bathed in the tree's soft, golden luminescence. The shadows of the whispering woods deepened around its edges, making the path back to Oakhaven seem distant and foreboding. But Elara felt no fear, only a profound sense of purpose. The whispers had found their voice, and it was speaking directly to her. She looked at the silvery tree, its golden leaves glowing like embers, its song filling the twilight air with a haunting plea. She didn't know how, or what she was meant to do, but she knew with an absolute certainty that she had to answer. The Valley of Lyra, her quiet, beloved home, held a secret far grander and more sorrowful than she had ever imagined. And somehow, she was now entwined in its ancient tale. The journey had just begun. The journey had just begun. Lyra took a tentative step forward, her heart thrumming with a rhythm that echoed the tree's own song. The twilight deepened, painting the sky in bruised purples and fading gold, but the Lyra tree seemed to generate its own light, each golden leaf a tiny beacon. As she drew closer, the song shifted, no longer just a haunting plea, but a complex symphony of emotions. Deep sorrow, profound longing, and a fragile thread of hope. It was a lament, she realized, for something lost, something vital. She reached out, her fingers trembling, and grazed the silvery bark. It was cool beneath her touch, yet vibrated with an incredible, living energy. As her skin met the ancient wood, a cascade of images, fleeting as fireflies, flashed through her mind. She saw a valley vibrant beyond anything she had ever known, shimmering with an incandescent magic. Creatures of pure light danced among flowers that glowed. At the heart of it all stood the Lyra tree, not merely glowing, but blazing with an inner sun, its leaves a molten gold that poured light over everything. Then, a shadow, not a physical darkness, but an absence, began to creep in at the edges of the vision, draining the color, dimming the light. The tree's brilliance faltered, its leaves losing their intense glow, shrinking, and the vibrant valley began to fade into the familiar, beloved, but somehow muted landscape she knew. The vision receded as quickly as it came, leaving Lyra gasping, her hand still pressed against the bark. The tree's song swelled again, a crescendo of anguish, then softened, as if reassured by her touch, by her understanding. She looked at the tree, her eyes wide with a dawning comprehension. It wasn't just singing, it was weeping for its lost glory, for the fading magic of the valley it sustained. A rustle in the undergrowth broke her trance. Lyra spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. From beneath a thicket of gnarled roots, a creature emerged. It was a badger, surprisingly large, with fur as grizzled as old moss and eyes that gleamed with an ancient, knowing intelligence. He shuffled forward, sniffing the air, then settled on his haunches, observing Lyra with an unsettlingly direct gaze. "So, it has chosen you," the badger rumbled, his voice a low, gravelly whisper that seemed to emanate from the very earth beneath their feet. Lyra stared, dumbfounded. Animals didn't speak. Not like this. "Don't look so surprised, child. The heart song has been waiting for someone with ears to hear, and a heart brave enough to listen, for a very long time." Lyra found her voice, though it was little more than a whisper. The tree spoke to me. It showed me." "It showed you the truth," the badger finished, nodding sagely. "The truth of its sorrow, and the truth of its purpose. I am Borin. I have watched this valley, and this tree, for more seasons than I care to count. My kin have watched it for generations beyond that." "Borin," Lyra repeated, still trying to process the talking badger. What is happening to it?" "The valley. It was so bright in the vision." Borin sighed, a deep, weary sound. "This is the Lyra tree, child, the heart song of the valley. Its roots delve into the deepest wellsprings of magic, and its golden leaves once drew down the starlight itself, weaving it into the very fabric of this land. Every bloom, every sparkling stream, every whisper of magic you've ever known in this valley flows from it." He gestured with a clawed paw towards the tree. "But the tree is fading. Slowly, imperceptibly for most, but fading nonetheless. And with it, the valley's true vibrancy diminishes." Lyra looked around, suddenly seeing her familiar home with new eyes. The twilight, which she had always found beautiful, now seemed like a permanent shadow compared to the incandescent light of the vision. The rich greens and browns were lovely, but not the shimmering, otherworldly hues she'd briefly glimpsed. "Why?" she asked, her voice tight with concern. "What happened?" Borin shuffled closer, his ancient eyes fixing on hers. "Long, long ago, in a time before even my great-grandfather's great-grandfathers, a great shadow threatened this land. A blight that sought to consume all light and magic. To protect the Lyra tree, and thus the valley, the ancient guardians performed a desperate ritual. They carefully, painstakingly, extracted the tree's very essence, its core of pure starlight, which they called the Aetherstone. They hid it away in a place of... So, the Aetherstone is gone," Lyra whispered, a cold knot forming in her stomach. "Not gone, child, merely misplaced," Borin corrected. "It was protected, yes, but the method of its return became a forgotten song, a lost path. The tree, without its heart song, can only draw on the residual magic of the land. It sustains itself, barely, but it cannot truly thrive. Its golden leaves, once blazing, now only glimmer, like embers nearing their end. Its song, once a joyful chorus, is now a plea for its lost heart." He looked at Lyra, his gaze unwavering. "The tree chose you, Lyra. Its song found a resonance in your own spirit, perhaps because you, too, are a quiet keeper of melodies, a listener to the unseen. You were born in this valley, and its magic flows through you, even if you did not know the source until now. The vision it showed you, the connection you felt, that is proof. The Lyra tree needs its Aetherstone returned, and Lyra are the one destined to bring it back." Lyra felt a dizzying mix of fear and exhilaration. She was just Lyra, the girl who loved to wander the woods, who found solace in the quiet beauty of the valley. How could Aishe undertake such a monumental task? Yet the tree's song, now a gentle hum of encouragement, filled her with a strange, resolute strength. I don't know how," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "Where is this Aetherstone? How do I find a lost prophecy?" Borin gave a small, approving grunt. "Courage is not the absence of fear, child, but the willingness to act despite it. The path is not simple, but it is not entirely lost. The ancient guardians, in their wisdom, left clues. The first is hidden in the oldest place of memory, beyond the valley's edge. You must seek the whispering woods of Eldorier, where the ancient stones remember what the living forget." He paused, then added, "It will be a perilous journey, Lyra. The world beyond our valley is not as gentle as home." There are shadows that still linger from the time of the blight, and creatures of forgotten magic, some benevolent, some less so. Are you truly prepared to leave your quiet life behind, to answer the call of the heart song? Lyra looked at the lyra tree, its golden leaves now seeming to pulse with a fragile hope. She thought of the vibrant valley in her vision, the sheer, breathtaking magic, and then of the muted beauty of her home, so familiar, so beloved, but now tinged with the knowledge of what it had lost. The thought of it fading further, of the lyra tree itself dying, filled her with a fierce determination. This valley was her home, her sanctuary. She couldn't let that happen. "Yes," she said, her voice clear and steady now. I will find the Aether Stone. I will help the lyra tree." Borin's eyes gleamed. "Then we begin at first light. Gather what you need, child. Food, water, a sturdy cloak for the road. And bring your flute. Music, after all, is the language of the heart song." With a final knowing nod, Borin turned and disappeared back into the undergrowth, leaving Lyra alone with the silent, glowing tree and the weight of her newfound destiny. The rest of the twilight hours passed in a blur of quiet activity. Lyra returned to her small, cozy cottage, her mind still reeling. She packed a small bag, dried berries, a water skin, a thick woolen cloak, and her precious wooden flute, its smooth surface cool beneath her fingers. She looked around her simple home, at the hearth where she'd often sat, at the window that looked out onto the familiar gentle slopes of the valley. A wave of melancholy washed over her. This was her sanctuary, her entire world, and she was leaving it. But she wasn't leaving it for adventure's sake. She was leaving it for the valley, for the lyra tree, for the very essence of her home. As the first faint streaks of dawn began to paint the eastern sky in soft rose and lavender, Lyra stood once more before the lyra tree. Its golden leaves seemed to shimmer with a renewed, albeit faint, hope. Borin was already there, a dark, stoic shape against the paling light. He gave a single, curt nod. "The way to the Whispering Woods lies north, through the sunken pass," he said, his voice softer in the morning air. "It is a journey of several days. We must move swiftly." Lyra took a deep breath, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs. She gave the lyra tree one last, lingering look, a silent promise in her eyes. Then, with Borin leading the way, she turned her back on her quiet valley home and stepped into the unknown. The first part of their journey led them up a winding path that gradually ascended out of the valley. As they climbed higher, Lyra could look back and see the entire expanse of her home, nestled like a green jewel amidst the surrounding hills. She noticed now, with Borin's words fresh in her mind, the subtle differences. The colors, while beautiful, lacked a certain brilliance. The air, while fresh, didn't hum with the vibrant, almost tangible magic she had glimpsed in the tree's vision. A deep resolve solidified within her. She and Harding to succeed. Borin, despite his age, moved with surprising agility, his short legs carrying him over roots and stones with practiced ease. He didn't speak much, but his presence was a comforting anchor in the vastness of the waking world. He pointed out edible plants, warned her of tricky footing, and occasionally grumbled about the slowness of two-legged creatures. They passed through sparse woodlands, then across rolling hills carpeted in wildflowers that swayed in the morning breeze. By the afternoon, the landscape began to change. The trees grew taller, their branches intertwining to form a dense canopy that filtered the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. The air grew cooler, heavier, and carried the scent of damp earth and ancient wood. "We're near the sunken pass," Borin whispered, his voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. "Beyond it lies the edge of the Whispering Woods. Be mindful, Lyra. The woods are old, and the older a place, the deeper its memories, and the stronger its magic." The sunken pass was a deep, narrow gorge, its walls steep and overgrown, with clinging vines and moss. A faint ethereal mist snaked through its depths, catching the last rays of the setting sun in shimmering tendrils. As they descended, the silence became profound, broken only by the drip of water from unseen springs and the crunch of their own footsteps. The air grew colder, and Lyra pulled her cloak tighter around her. They emerged from the pass into a landscape that felt utterly alien. This was the edge of the Whispering Woods. Ancient trees, unlike any she had seen in her valley, towered above them, their trunks gnarled and twisted, their branches reaching like skeletal fingers towards the darkening sky. Their leaves, a deep, somber green, seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. And then Lyra heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible murmur, like 1,000 hushed voices, drifting on the evening breeze. The whispers. The woods live and breathe, Lyra, Borin said, his voice low. They remember every creature that has ever passed through them, every secret whispered under their boughs. Sometimes those memories can play tricks on the unwary mind. Follow my lead and trust your own heart, not just your ears. They plunged into the deepening twilight of the woods. Nay. The whispers grew louder, weaving around them like invisible threads. At first, they were indistinct, a general sibilance that seemed to come from all directions. Then, Lyra began to pick out fragments, faint echoes of sound that tugged at her memory. A snatch of a lullaby she'd heard as a child. The distant bark of a dog she'd once known. The gentle murmur of her own name, called by a voice that sounded achingly familiar. Don't listen too closely, Borin grunted, his pace unwavering. They are illusions, Lyra. Echoes, not truth. But it was hard. The whispers intensified, becoming more personal, more alluring. She heard her mother's voice, clear as day, calling her home for supper. She saw fleeting glimpses, at the edge of her vision, of familiar faces, beckoning her down paths that led away from Borin. A longing deep and powerful rose within her. Her home, her family, her quiet, safe life. It all seemed to call to her, to promise comfort and peace if she would only turn back. Lyra! Borin's sharp voice cut through the illusions, startling her. She realized she had slowed, her feet unconsciously turning towards a shadowy path that seemed to glow with a deceptive warmth. Focus, child. These woods feed on doubt and desire. Hold true to your purpose. She shook her head, trying to clear the fog from her mind. The Lyra tree. The fading valley. The ether stone. This was why she was here. She closed her eyes for a moment, picturing the tree's glowing leaves, hearing its true, sorrowful song. When she opened them again, the illusion still flickered at the edges of her sight, but they held less power. How do we get through? She asked, her voice tight with effort. We listen to the untrue whispers, Borin replied. The earth, the wind, the rustle of the leaves that are not speaking to your heart, but simply jibbing. The woods want to disorient you, to make you lose your way. But they cannot hide the path from one who listens to the deepest rhythms. He paused, then added, Your flute, Lyra? Play something. Not for the woods, but for yourself. A melody of defiance, of purpose. Let it be an anchor. Lyra hesitated, then unslung her flute. Her fingers trembled as she brought it to her lips. What melody? She thought of the Lyra tree, its song of longing and hope. She thought of her valley, and the courage she had found within herself. She began to play, a simple, clear tune that started as a hesitant breath and grew into a powerful, resonant melody. It wasn't a sad song nor a joyful one, but a song of quiet determination, of unwavering resolve. As the notes drifted through the oppressive air of the whispering woods, something remarkable happened. The illusory whispers faltered, their insidious calls weakening against the purity of her music. The shadowy figures at the edge of her vision dissolved. The confusing paths seemed to recede, and a clearer, albeit still dim, path ahead became discernible. Her music, a beacon in the magical miasma, seemed to calm the very air around them, pushing back the wood's attempts to ensnare her. Borin grunted, a sound of approval. Well played, Lyra. Keep that song in your heart, if not always on your lips. It is your shield. They continued their journey, Lyra's flute occasionally rising to meet the challenge of the woods, her music a steady pulse against the fading whispers. Hours passed, marked only by the deepening gloom and the gradual shift in the forest itself. The trees, though still ancient, began to change. Their bark became smoother, almost pearlescent in the faint light that filtered through. The ground beneath their feet grew softer, covered in a carpet of luminous moss that glowed faintly, like scattered emeralds. Finally, as Lyra's fingers grew stiff and her eyelids heavy, Borin stopped. Look, Lyra, he murmured, his voice hushed. Ahead of them the trees thinned, revealing a clearing bathed in an ethereal silver light. At its center stood a ring of massive ancient stones, their surfaces smooth and worn by countless ages. They were not carved, but seemed to have grown from the earth, their rough-hewn shapes radiating a quiet power. Each stone pulsed with a faint inner luminescence, casting long, dancing shadows. This was no ordinary stone circle. This was a place of deep magic, of profound memory. The standing stones of Eldoria, Borin whispered, awe in his voice. The oldest place of memory. This is where the first clue lies hidden. Lyra stared at the stones, her weariness forgotten. The air here was different, tingling with an ancient energy. The whispers of the woods were gone, replaced by a profound, resonant silence. This place felt like a heart, beating slowly and deeply, remembering all that had ever been. She had faced the illusions of the woods, found strength in her music, and now she stood before the threshold of ancient knowledge. The next step of her journey, the search for the lost prophecy of the Aetherstone, was about to begin. She took a breath, the air cool and vibrant, and stepped forward. The profound silence which had seemed absolute moments before, now revealed itself as a symphony of unheard frequencies, a hum that vibrated deep in her bones. The ancient energy wasn't just tingling, it was singing, a vast complex chord that spanned the spectrum of existence. Before her, what had appeared to be solid rock dissolved into a shimmering veil, like moonlight spun through a spider's silk. It rippled, a fluid tapestry of starlight and shadow, inviting her deeper. No sound accompanied its parting, yet Ilara felt a subtle shift in the world's weight, as if she were passing from one dream into another. She stepped through. The world bloomed around her. She stood not in a cavern, but in an immense living chamber, its ceiling lost in a soft ethereal luminescence that pulsed like a distant benevolent star. The walls were not rock, but immense, crystalline formations that gleamed with an inner light, shifting through a spectrum of deep amethysts, emeralds, and sapphires. These crystals weren't inert, they seemed to breathe, their facets reflecting not just light, but memories, faint, fleeting images of forgotten ages. At the heart of the chamber, a colossal, gnarled tree rose, its bark like ancient, weathered bronze, its branches reaching up into the luminous expanse. But this was no ordinary tree. Its leaves were not green, but made of solidified light, shimmering like 1,000 tiny suns. And from its roots, a gentle, resonant thrum emanated, the deep, slow beat that Ilara had felt from afar. This was the heartwood, she realized, the living core of this sanctum, the very pulse of ancient knowledge. The ground beneath her feet was soft, covered in a carpet of luminescent moss that glowed like scattered fireflies. It felt yielding, almost alive. Tiny crystalline flowers, like miniature constellations, dotted the moss, emitting a faint, sweet scent that reminded her of rain and stardust. There was no discernible path, yet the chamber seemed to guide her, the light-drenched air drawing her towards the heartwood. As she approached, the resonant hum grew stronger, filling her with a sense of immense peace and profound antiquity. This wasn't just a place, it was a consciousness, vast and patient, watching her with the wisdom of millennia. Before the heartwood, where its massive roots intertwined into a natural alcove, a figure began to coalesce from the ambient light. It was tall and slender, composed entirely of shimmering motes of light and sound. Its form was fluid, constantly shifting, like a nebula given sentience. It had no discernible face, yet Ilara felt eyes upon her, deep and knowing. It was a being of pure resonance, a symphony made manifest. She instinctively knew this was the guardian, the echo spirit of this hallowed place. The echo spirit did not speak with words, but with a cascade of pure tones, a celestial melody that resonated directly in Ilara's mind, not as language, but as understanding. Welkom Sika, Kangunhelien, Mont Si down the mound. The path has brought you to the cradle of whispers, where the forgotten songs of time are held. Would you need more? Ilara felt a wave of reverence. I seek the lost prophecy of the Aetherstone, she replied, her voice soft, almost a whisper, yet it seemed to carry perfectly in the resonant air. I believe it holds truths vital to our world. The echo's spirit pulsed, its light brightening. The musical tones shifted, becoming more complex, weaving a story without words. Ilara understood. Many have sought. Few have been worthy to hear the true song. The prophecy is not written, child of melody. It is woven into the very fabric of the ether, and only a heart attuned to its deepest vibrations can unravel its threads. Wunyada nan, panagonde, I seris, I deshalmatinwa. The Aether Stone is not merely a jewel or a relic. It is the heart of the Aether itself, the boundless realm beyond realms, the source of all magic, all creation, and all unmaking. Its prophecy is a warning, a guiding light, and a forgotten truth. But it is guarded not by locks, but by resonance, by harmony, by echoes of lost ages. Anatatamanwan, Kalyudia. Elara looked up at the heartwood, its luminous leaves shimmering. How do I find it? What must I do? The echo spirit's form swirled, and from its core, a single pure note extended, long and unwavering. It was a note Elara recognized, though she had never heard it before, the fundamental tone of the heartwood, the deep, slow beat she'd felt. Prophecy is a reflection of the ether. It is in constant flux, ever-changing, yet eternally true. To perceive it, one must resonate with its flow. You carry the gift of resonance, child of melody. Your music is a key, a bridge between realms. But the Aether Stone's prophecy is not a simple tune. It is a symphony of ages, filled with both cosmic harmony and discord. To truly perceive it, you must not only play, but understand the echoes of what once was, and what might yet be. You must weave your song with the threads of forgotten sorrows and nascent hopes. The echo spirit gestured, a graceful shift of its luminous form, towards the heartwood. From the ancient tree's roots, 7 crystalline structures emerged, each glowing with a different hue: crimson, amber, emerald, azure, indigo, violet, and a pure, brilliant white. They were not just crystals, they seemed to pulse with an inner life, like dormant hearts. These are the 7 echo nodes, the echo spirit conveyed. Each holds a fragment of the ether's memory, a specific vibration of its prophecy. To awaken them is to awaken a part of the true song. Play for them, Elara. Play not just with your fingers, but with your soul. Let your music be an offering, a question, a memory, a hope. Let it resonate with the echoes of the world, and perhaps the ether will whisper its truth to you. When here, Kondi. Elara felt a tremor of apprehension, mixed with a thrill of anticipation. This was a challenge unlike any she had faced. It wasn't about illusions or physical barriers, it was about emotional and spiritual resonance. She took out her flute, its silver gleaming softly in the chamber's light. Its familiar weight in her hands was a comfort, a tether to her own strength. She chose the first echo node, the crimson one. It pulsed with a deep, passionate glow, like a slumbering fire. What memory did it hold? What emotion? She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the vast silence of the chamber fill her, listening not with her ears, but with her heart. She felt a faint echo of profound loss, a lament for something ancient and irretrievable. Elara lifted her flute. She began to play, a low, mournful melody, slow and deliberate. The notes hung in the air, each one a sigh, a tear, a memory of sorrow. Her music was a lament for forgotten beauty, for civilizations turned to dust, for stars that had burned out. She poured her own empathy into the notes, remembering the fleeting sadness she sometimes felt for things she couldn't name, a universal melancholy. As her music filled the chamber, the crimson echo node began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her melody. The light expanded, reaching out, and Elara felt a subtle shift in the air, as if the very fabric of time were thinning. Visions flickered at the edge of her perception. Vast, star-strewn landscapes, ancient, crumbling towers, faces etched with a longing that transcended millennia. The echo spirit observed, its luminous form steady, its silent presence encouraging. With a final lingering note that faded into a poignant silence, Elara completed her piece. The crimson echo node flared once, then settled into a steady, vibrant glow, its light now infused with a deeper, more profound hue. When the echo of loss has awakened, the echo spirit communicated. You have touched the chord of sorrow, the unavoidable truth of decay and endings. Now, reach for the amber. It holds the memory of beginnings. One in the end. Elara turned to the amber echo node. It radiated a warm golden light, like the first rays of dawn. Beginnings. What did that mean in the context of the ether stone? Creation? The spark of life? She thought of the first bloom of spring after a long winter, the wonder in a child's eyes, the moment of inspiration when a new melody took form in her mind. She began to play again, a very different tune. This was a melody of awakening, of gentle unfolding. It started with a single, tentative note, then another, slowly building, intertwining, like tendrils of light reaching for the sun. Her music danced with hope and curiosity, with the joyous discovery of new possibilities. She imagined the birth of stars, the first breath of a new world, the vibrant energy of creation itself. The amber echo node responded, its light shimmering and dancing, mirroring the playful, ascending notes of her flute. Tiny golden motes of light drifted from its surface, swirling around Elara like benevolent sprites. She felt a surge of pure unadulterated joy, a connection to the very genesis of existence. The chamber seemed to hum with a newfound lightness, as if the weight of the ages had momentarily lifted. When her final bright note faded, the amber echo node pulsed with a steady, radiant warmth, joining the crimson in its awakened glow. The echo of Genesis has awakened, the echo spirit affirmed. You have embraced the spark of creation, the eternal promise of renewal. Now, the emerald. It holds the memory of life, the vibrant tapestry of being. One N. The emerald echo node glowed with the deep, rich green of a living forest, pulsating with a gentle, rhythmic beat, like a steady heart. Life. Not just birth, but the ongoing dance of existence, the interconnectedness of all things. The silent growth of ancient trees, the flow of rivers, the flight of birds, the intricate patterns of nature. Elara thought of the world she knew, the forests she had journeyed through, the creatures that inhabited them. She thought of the delicate balance, the resilience of nature, the sheer, undeniable force of life pushing through stone and shadow. She played a melody that was lush and complex, interwoven with flowing arpeggios and intricate trills, mimicking the intricate patterns of life. Her music became a river, a forest, a bustling ecosystem of sound. She imagined roots delving deep, leaves reaching for the sun, the quiet wisdom of ancient groves. The emerald echo node drank in her music. Its green light intensified, and from its surface, spectral vines of light sprouted, weaving intricate patterns in the air before slowly receding. The air around Elara felt suddenly vibrant, alive with unseen energies, the scent of fresh earth and growing things momentarily wafting through the stardust-scented chamber. As the last notes of her life song echoed, the emerald echo node pulsed with a deep, verdant glow, a testament to the enduring power of existence. The echo of vitality has awakened, the echo spirit declared. You have resonated with the living pulse of the world, the enduring spirit of all that grows and thrives. Now the azure. It holds the memory of knowledge, the vast ocean of understanding. Elara turned to the azure echo node. It shone with the deep, fathomless blue of a tranquil sea or a boundless sky. Knowledge. Not just facts, but wisdom, understanding, the interconnectedness of all truths. The silent accumulation of millennia, the insights gleaned from observation and experience. She closed her eyes, trying to grasp the enormity of all knowledge. It was overwhelming. But then she remembered her own journey, the lessons learned, the illusions unmasked. Knowledge wasn't just about answers. It was about the quest, the journey of discovery itself. She began to play, a melody that was thoughtful and exploratory, filled with moments of quiet contemplation, then sudden bursts of insight. Her music sought patterns, connected disparate ideas, unraveled complex harmonies. It was a tune of quiet revelation, of understanding dawning like the first light on a hidden peak. She played of ancient scriptures, of the whispers of stars, of the silent wisdom held within the heartwood itself. The azure echo node responded with a gentle rippling light, like water stirred by a soft breeze. The reflections on its surface showed fleeting symbols, ancient script that she couldn't comprehend, but whose meaning seemed to resonate deep within her. She felt her mind expanding, as if new pathways were opening, allowing her to grasp concepts just beyond her immediate reach. When her melody concluded, the azure echo node pulsed with a serene deep blue, radiating calm and clarity. The echo of illumination has awakened, the echo spirit resonated. You have sought the deeper currents of truth, the endless quest for understanding. Now, the indigo. It holds the memory of dreams, the boundless realm of imagination and possibility. Kaina, unwind, to see now, I know and I knew. The indigo echo node shimmered with the mysterious, shifting hues of twilight, like a gateway to other realities. Dreams. Not just sleep dreams, Ilara realized, but aspirations, hopes, the potential for what might be. The power of imagination to shape reality, the unseen currents that guide destiny. Ilara considered the dreams of humanity, the tales whispered around campfires, the visions that inspired great deeds, the silent yearnings of every heart. She played a melody that was ethereal and flowing, unbound by strict rhythm or conventional harmony. It drifted and soared, then dipped into hushed introspection, reflecting the shifting landscapes of the dream world. Her music was a tapestry of fantastical creatures, impossible architectures, and the quiet, potent magic of belief. It was a song of boundless creativity, of what could be if one dared to imagine it. The indigo echo node reacted dramatically. Its light swirled and shifted, projecting shimmering illusions into the air around it, fleeting glimpses of impossible castles, forests of crystal, creatures with wings of starlight. The chamber filled with a sense of wonder and infinite potential, the boundary between reality and imagination blurring. As her dream song faded, the indigo echo node pulsed with a deep, vibrant violet blue, emanating a sense of profound magic and endless possibility. The echo of vision has awakened, the echo spirit conveyed. You have embraced the power of the unseen, the potent magic of what might yet be. Now, the violet. It holds the memory of purpose, the unwavering thread of destiny. The violet echo node glowed with a regal, profound light, like the solemn crown of a forgotten king. Purpose. This resonated deeply with Ilara's own journey, her quest for the ether stone prophecy. It wasn't just about what I caught a be, but what was to be, the inherent direction of existence, the silent pull of fate. Ilara thought of the call that had drawn her from her quiet life, the strength she had found, the path that had unfolded before her. She played a melody that was strong and resolute, yet infused with a sense of cosmic inevitability. It began with a searching tone, then slowly built, gaining momentum and clarity, like a river finding its way to the sea. Her music spoke of courage, of conviction, of the quiet strength that fuels a long journey. It was a melody of destiny, of the inherent meaning in every step taken. The violet echo node absorbed her music, its light growing steady and powerful. It pulsed with a deep, unwavering rhythm, resonating with the heartwood's own slow beat. Ilara felt a surge of clarity, a renewed sense of direction. Her own purpose, intertwined with the larger purpose of the ether, felt more defined, more certain. With a final ringing chord that resonated with quiet strength, Ilara finished. The violet echo node now glowed with an intense, focused light, brimming with a sense of profound, unfolding destiny. The echo of destiny has awakened, the echo spirit pronounced. You have embraced the inherent direction of all things, the profound meaning in every journey. Now the final echo node, the pure white. It holds the memory of balance, the ultimate harmony of all existence. Ilara turned to the pure white echo node. It gleamed with an ethereal, blinding brilliance, a light that encompassed all other colors, yet remained perfectly pristine. Balance, tutigande, chisia, balance. This was the ultimate challenge, the culmination of all the others. The harmony between loss and genesis, life and knowledge, dreams and purpose. The equilibrium of the ether itself. She paused, taking a deep breath. This was not just a melody. It was a synthesis. She had to weave all the previous echoes, all the emotions and truths, into a single, cohesive harmony. She thought of the perfect stillness at the eye of a storm, the delicate equilibrium of a spinning galaxy, the quiet strength that holds everything together. Ilara began to play. Her music was slow at first, a single, sustained note of pure, unwavering resonance. Then, she began to layer, weaving in threads of the mournful crimson, the joyous amber, the vibrant emerald, the thoughtful azure, the ethereal indigo, and the resolute violet. It was a complex tapestry of sound, each theme distinct yet blending seamlessly, creating a new, profound harmony. Her fingers danced over the keys, her breath flowed effortlessly, and her heart poured into every note. She was no longer just Elara playing her flute, she was a conduit, channeling the very essence of the ether. The pure white echo node flared, its light expanding to fill the entire chamber. It pulsed not with a single color, but with the combined essence of all seven, yet remained pure and unified. The other 6 echo nodes, now fully awakened, began to hum in unison with the white, their lights dancing together in a breathtaking display of cosmic harmony. The heartwood itself seemed to thrum with renewed vigor, its luminous leaves shimmering with increased intensity. The echo spirit, its form now radiant with an inner brilliance, began to swirl, its luminous motes coalescing into a shimmering vortex above the heartwood. From this vortex, a cascade of pure resonant light poured forth, not as separate notes, but as a continuous flowing stream of conscious understanding. This was the prophecy. It wasn't a text, or a vision in a scroll. It was pure information, woven into light and sound, pouring directly into Elara's mind, not as words, but as an instantaneous profound understanding. She saw the Aether Stone not as a static object, but as a living heart, beating at the center of all realities, its pulse sending ripples of magic and energy throughout the cosmos. She understood its purpose, to maintain the delicate balance between creation and destruction, order and chaos, light and shadow. But then, the harmony shifted. A discord crept in, a faint, unsettling vibration. The prophecy showed her a subtle, insidious imbalance growing within the ether, a creeping shadow that threatened to destabilize the very fabric of existence. It was not a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, parasitic drain, a draining of vital energy from the ether stone itself. The images deepened, forgotten rituals, ancient beings stirring from slumber, not necessarily evil, but misguided, seeking to harness the ether stone's power for their own ends, unwittingly drawing too much, disrupting its essential balance. The prophecy revealed that if this imbalance continued, the ether stone would falter, its light dim, and chaos would engulf not just her world, but all connected realms. The prophecy also showed her a solution, not a direct command, but a series of cryptic insights. The imbalance could only be corrected by one who could resonate with the ether stone's true song, one who could retune its failing harmony. It hinted at 3 ether keys, not physical objects but resonant frequencies, scattered across disparate, forgotten places. Each key held a fragment of the Aether Stone's original song, and only by uniting them could its true melody be restored. One of these keys, the prophecy revealed, lay hidden in the sunken city of Lyra, an ancient elven civilization now submerged beneath a shimmering sea, guarded by creatures of deep magic and the echoes of forgotten artistry. The flow of knowledge subsided, leaving Elara breathless, her mind reeling with the enormity of what she had witnessed. The chamber, though still radiant, felt heavier, imbued with the weight of this cosmic truth. The echo spirit settled back into its place, its light still bright, but now with a subtle shimmer of concern. Elara lowered her flute, her hands trembling slightly. The prophecy was not a simple warning, it was a calling. The fate of countless worlds, perhaps even the Aether itself, rested on finding these keys and restoring the balance. The path was clearer now, but infinitely more daunting. She had found ancient knowledge, but it had burdened her with a colossal responsibility. The search for the lost prophecy of the Ether Stone was complete, but her true journey, the quest to save it, had just begun. Her next destination was clear, though shrouded in mystery, the sunken city of Lyra. Elara stood on the precipice of a new dawn. The ancient scroll clutched in her hand, its faint glow pulsing with the rhythm of her own determined heart. Lyri, Totoni. The name whispered on the wind, a melody of forgotten tides. To reach it, she knew, she would need more than courage. She would need a guide, or a way to breathe where air did not exist. Her journey led her to the jagged, mist-shrouded coast of the azure wastes, a place where the sea seemed to weep against the cliffs. Here, ancient legend spoke of a creature, half myth, half machine, known as the Nautilus Luminon. It was said to be the last creation of the Deep Seers, the very architects of Lyra, designed to traverse the abyssal plains. Elara spent days, then weeks, tracing faint ley lines and deciphering cryptic carvings on wave-worn stones, until she found it, a colossal, barnacle-encrusted shell, half buried in a sandy cove. It pulsed with a faint internal luminescence. With a touch, the ancient craft awoke. Gears groaned, runes flared, and the shell-like doors hissed open, revealing an interior of polished mother-of-pearl and intricate brass mechanisms. Stepping inside, Elara felt the vessel hum to life around her, a gentle thrumming that resonated with the Etherstone's prophecy. The Nautilus Luminine plunged into the churning depths, carrying her deeper than any living being had ventured in millennia. The descent was a breathtaking spectacle. Bioluminescent flora painted the abyssal canyons in shifting hues of emerald and sapphire. Giant, gentle leviathans drifted by, their eyes like distant stars. And then, through the shimmering curtain of the deep, Lyra emerged. It was not a city of ruins, but of slumbering grandeur. Spire-like buildings, crafted from luminous coral and pearl, rose from the ocean floor, their domes still shimmering with the residual light of a sun long forgotten. Streets of polished obsidian wound between crystal gardens, where schools of iridescent fish darted like living jewels. The city was silent, preserved in a bubble of timeless magic, sustained by an unseen energy. Elara guided the Nautilus Luminine through an archway adorned with carved merfolk, their faces serene even in their petrified state. She disembarked, her feet touching the moss-kissed stone of Lyra's central plaza. The air, though water-filtered, felt strangely breathable, a testament to the city's profound enchantment. The prophecy had hinted at a key of whispering tides within Lyra. She searched, her footsteps echoing in the vast silent halls. In the Grand Athenaeum, where scrolls of solidified light floated in suspended animation, she found a mural depicting the city's history. It spoke of the deep seers, their reverence for the ether, and their creation of the keys, not as physical objects, but as nodes of resonance, attuned to the fundamental forces of the cosmos. Her search led her to the Temple of the Moonpearl, a structure built around a colossal, iridescent pearl that pulsed with a soft lunar glow. Within its sanctum, guarded by spectral guardians formed from solidified water, Elara found the first key. It was not a metallic object, but a crystalline chime, exquisitely carved from a single translucent teardrop of solidified starlight. As she reached for it, the spectral guardians stirred, their forms swirling like mist. They did not attack, but merely observed, their silent scrutiny a test of her worthiness. Elara, remembering the prophecy's call for a heart unbound by fear, yet humbled by wisdom, simply bowed, extending her hand with respect. The guardians, as if recognizing her purity of intent, parted. As her fingers closed around the chime of whispering tides, it resonated, sending ripples of pure sound through the water. A wave of ancient knowledge washed over her, images of swirling nebulae, the rhythmic ebb and flow of cosmic tides, and a whisper of the next key's location, deep within the heart of the Gora Borealisi, the sky citadel of Eridor. The chime hummed, a gentle guiding melody, a beacon for her next quest. Leaving Lyra, Elara felt a subtle shift within the ether itself. The balance, though still precarious, now leaned ever so slightly towards hope, a testament to the chime's restorative power. The journey to Eridor was a stark contrast to her descent into the deep. The Nautilus Luminine, its purpose fulfilled, gently guided her to the surface, where it dissolved into shimmering stardust, its energy returning to the ether. Elara found herself on the windswept peaks of the Cloudspine Mountains, where the air was thin and crisp, and the sky stretched out like an endless canvas. Eridor, the prophecy stated, was a city that floated among the clouds, powered by harnessed lightning and pure etheric energy. She sought out the legendary Sky Weavers, a reclusive order said to possess the knowledge of flight without wings. After navigating treacherous mountain passes and deciphering wind chants sung by ancient gales, she found their eyrie, a hidden monastery carved into the highest peak. The Sky Weavers, cloaked in robes woven from cloud silk, were beings of profound serenity and wisdom. Their elder, a woman named Zephyr, with eyes the color of a storm-cleared sky, greeted Elara with a knowing smile. "The Aether calls to you, child of light," Zephyr said, her voice like the rustling of leaves. "The imbalance grows, a shadow stretching across the cosmos. We have felt it, a chill in the heart of the winds." Elara explained her quest, showing them the chime of whispering tides, which resonated with the pure air magic of their sanctuary. Zephyr revealed that the second key, the heart of the Zephyr, was indeed within Eridor, but it was not merely to be taken. It was a test of alignment, a challenge to harmonize with the very currents of the ether. To reach Eridor, Elara had to undertake the flight of unburdening. She was given a cloak woven with feather-light cloud silk, and instructed to meditate atop the highest spire, to let go of all earthly attachments and fears. As she focused, her spirit soared, and the air currents themselves lifted her. She drifted upward, through layers of mist and cloud, until Eridor appeared, a breathtaking city of gleaming spires and crystal bridges, suspended by colossal, shimmering ether crystals. The heart of the Zephyr was located in the city's highest observatory, a dome of flawless, transparent ether glass that offered an unobstructed view of the star-strewn heavens. But as Elara approached, she felt a tangible coldness, a distortion in the etheric flow. Wisps of shadowy mist, unlike any cloud, snaked through the city, trying to obscure her path, whispering doubts and fears into her mind. This was the shadow blight Zephyr had spoken of, the manifestation of the ether stone's growing imbalance, actively attempting to thwart her. Elara pressed on, her resolve strengthened by the chime at her belt. Within the observatory, suspended in a vortex of pure, swirling light, hung the second key. It was a perfect sphere of condensed air, humming with silent power, a miniature galaxy of swirling energies. But surrounding it, like grasping tendrils, were the densest parts of the shadow blight, forming a barrier of negative energy and despair. The key demands purity of intent. Elara, Zephyr's voice echoed in her mind. A whisper carried on the wind. Face the shadow not with force, but with the light you carry within. Elara closed her eyes, focusing on the warmth of the chime of whispering tides, on the wisdom of Lyra, on the beauty of Eridor. She extended her hand, not to seize the key, but to offer a beacon of hope. The light from her heart, amplified by the chime, pushed back the encroaching shadows. They hissed and recoiled, unable to withstand the pure, unwavering luminescence. With a final surge of will, Elara reached through the parting darkness and grasped the heart of the Zephyr. Nah. Ens. As her fingers closed around the sphere, it pulsed with a vibrant golden light, radiating warmth and clarity. Another torrent of knowledge flowed into her mind, visions of the cosmic currents, the delicate dance of creation and destruction, and a chilling revelation. The shadow blight was not merely a passive imbalance, it was being shamplified, twisted by a malevolent will, a forgotten fragment of primordial chaos, seeking to unravel the very fabric of existence. The heart of the Zephyr showed her the next key's location, the Crimson Ember, nestled deep within the volcanic heart of the Emberfall caldera, a place where creation and destruction perpetually intertwined. The journey to Emberfall caldera was fraught with peril. The shadow blight, now a more defined presence, actively manipulated the ether, conjuring illusions of doubt, stirring up storms, and even animating earth elementals to block her path. Elara, armed with the chime and the heart, learned to weave their energies together, the soothing calm of the tides to disperse illusions, the invigorating clarity of the wind to shatter animated stone. She was no longer just a seeker, she was becoming a guardian. Emberfall caldera was a land of raw, primal power. Rivers of molten rock carved luminous paths through jagged obsidian mountains. Geysers of superheated steam erupted into the perpetually ash-laden sky. The air crackled with untamed energy, a stark contrast to the serene depths of Lyra and the ethereal heights of Eridor. The prophecy spoke of the forge masters of Ignis, ancient beings who tended the cosmic fires. Elara found their hidden forge, a cavern deep within the caldera, where colossal automatons of living flame shaped raw aether into tools of creation. Their leader, a being of solidified magma and flickering fire, named Volcanus, greeted her with a rumble that shook the very earth. The universe trembles, young one, Volcanus boomed, his eyes like twin suns. The shadow blight seeks to extinguish the spark of creation. The crimson ember is the ether stone's heart, the very essence of its will to exist. The crimson ember was hidden at the core of the caldera, protected by a labyrinth of shifting lava flows and sentient flame elementals, all corrupted and enraged by the shadow blight's influence. This was the most dangerous trial yet. The air burned, the ground trembled, and illusions of despair swirled, whispering of her failures and the futility of her quest. The shadow blight itself seemed to coalesce into a writhing amorphous entity, attempting to consume her. Elara stood firm, the chime of whispering tides providing a shield of serene calm, the heart of the zephyr, a beacon of unwavering clarity. She didn't fight the flames with fire, or the despair with anger. Instead, she used the combined energies of the keys, the soothing tides to cool the raging magma, creating temporary paths, and the cutting wind to clear the ash and illusions. She spoke to the corrupted elementals, not with commands, but with empathy, reminding them of their true nature as tenders of creation. Finally, at the very heart of the caldera, where a pool of pure radiant lava pulsed like a cosmic heart, she saw it. The crimson ember was a tear-shaped gem of solidified flame, throbbing with an intense living warmth, radiating pure, untamed creation energy. The shadow blight recoiled from its potent aura, but it clung desperately to the approaches, a swirling vortex of nothingness, trying to smother the ember's light. With a final desperate surge of will, Elara channeled the combined power of the chime and the heart, creating a bridge of solidified light and pure air across the churning lava. She reached for the ember, her hand passing through the clinging tendrils of the shadow blight, which hissed and burned at her touch. As her fingers closed around the crimson ember, a wave of primordial creation energy surged through her, linking her directly to the cosmic forge. The final piece of the prophecy unfolded in her mind. The shadow blight was not merely a fragment of chaos, but the forgotten, repressed despair of all sentient life, amplified by a breach in the Aetherstone caused by an ancient, cataclysmic event. It had gained sentience, and now sought to return all existence to primordial nothingness. The three keys now gathered, pulsed in unison, forming a complete circuit, and revealed the Aetherstone's true location, not in a distant realm, but in a nexus of stillness, a hidden dimension at the very core of all realities, accessible only when the three elemental energies of water, air, and fire were harmonized. The time for the final confrontation was at hand. The three keys, resonating together, opened a shimmering portal in the heart of Emberfall Caldera, a swirling vortex of cosmic colors. The shadow blight screamed, a soundless shriek that vibrated through Elara's bones, as it sensed its impending defeat. It lunged, its amorphous form attempting to engulf the portal, to prevent her passage. But Elara, empowered by the keys, stood firm. The chime pulsed with protective serenity. The heart of the zephyr generated a powerful gust that pushed back the shadow, and the crimson ember flared with defiant life, incinerating its clinging tendrils. Stepping through the portal, Elara found herself in a realm beyond perception, the nexus of stillness. It was a place of profound quiet, where space and time seemed to cease. Above her, suspended in an infinite void, was the Aetherstone. It was not a stone in the conventional sense, but a colossal, crystalline heart, pulsing with the gentle, rhythmic light of all creation. But it was fractured. Great cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, leaking tendrils of dark, swirling energy, the source of the shadow blight. It was not malicious, Elara realized, but wounded, crying out in cosmic pain. The shadow blight was merely the stone's dying breath, its deepest agony made manifest. As she approached, the shadow blight, now concentrated and immense, rose from the cracks in the Aetherstone. It was a being of pure solidified despair, its form shifting, twisting into grotesque shapes, reflecting the fears and sorrows of countless worlds. It did not speak, but projected thoughts of futility, of the inevitable end of all things, of the pointlessness of her struggle. Elara held the three keys aloft. "You are not a destroyer," she whispered, her voice resonating with the combined power of Lyra, Eridor, and Emberfall. "You are merely a wound, and wounds can heal." She didn't fight the shadow blight with destructive force. Instead, she channeled the key's energies. The chime of whispering tides sang a lullaby of peace, calming the agitated energies within the shadow. The heart of the zephyr infused it with pure, untainted clarity, allowing it to see its own distorted reflection. And the crimson ember pulsed with the boundless energy of creation, gently coaxing the shadow to remember its origin as part of the Aetherstone's own life force. The shadow blight writhed, torn between its destructive impulse and the healing light. It roared in silent anguish, fighting against its own dissolution. But Elara held firm, projecting not just light but understanding, compassion, and unwavering hope. She poured her very essence, her journey, her learnings, into the stream of energy flowing from the keys. Slowly, Agonizingly, the shadow blight began to recede, to dissolve. It wasn't destroyed, but reabsorbed, its dark energies transmuted, returning to the ether stone as purified essence. The cracks in the colossal crystal heart began to mend, flowing with liquid starlight. The rhythmic pulse of the ether stone grew stronger, more vibrant, radiating warmth and harmony across the nexus of stillness. As the last tendril of shadow vanished, the ether stone shone with blinding brilliance. Its light enveloped Elara, infusing her with a profound sense of peace and interconnectedness. The keys, their purpose fulfilled, dissolved into pure etheric energy, returning to the cosmic currents, their lessons now etched into Elara's very soul. The portal back to her own reality shimmered into existence, no longer a violent vortex but a gentle doorway of light. As she stepped through, she found herself back on the Cloudspine Mountains, the air fresh and clean, the stars twinkling with renewed vibrancy. The sky above was no longer tinged with ash or mist, but glowed with the ethereal dance of the true aurora borealis, a celebration of cosmic balance restored. Elara was no longer just the seeker of knowledge from the quiet library. She was the one who had journeyed to the deepest ocean, soared at the highest sky, and braved the fiercest fires. She had faced the cosmic wound and brought healing. The colossal responsibility she had felt was now a quiet strength, a deep understanding that the balance was not a static state, but a dynamic flow, requiring constant care and connection. Her true journey, the quest to save the ether stone, was complete. The worlds were safe, the ether flowed freely, and the cosmic harmony was restored. Elara looked up at the vast star-dusted canvas, a gentle smile gracing her lips. The adventure had changed her, deepened her, but it had also brought her home, not to a place, but to a profound sense of belonging within the grand tapestry of the universe. With a quiet heart and a mind filled with wonder, she knew that even the smallest spark of courage could illuminate the darkest cosmic night. And as the first rays of a new peaceful dawn touched the mountain peaks, Elara began her walk down, not away from the magic, but carrying it within her, a silent guardian of the newly restored balance. The universe slept soundly tonight, knowing Elara had answered its call.